Welcome back, citizens of the stars, to the RetroVerse podcast, where the past meets the future in the vast frontier of Star Citizen. I'm your host, Retro, bringing you the latest quantum level updates from across the verse. And today, we're not just cruising solo, we've got a fresh co-pilot aboard. Joining me on this ride is Dr. Black, a brand new citizen just dropped into the deep end of Alpha 4.0. Together, we'll be charting a course through chaos of cosmic patches, epic events, and the bold future of Alpha 4.1 and beyond. And of course, we're looking ahead to Star Citizen 1.0, what's coming, what's changing, and why it might just be the game changer we've all been waiting for. Strap in, check your comms, and let's punch it. So, Dr. Black, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Black. I am a brand new player. I've only played a few sessions of Star Citizen, but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to this.
So what made you get into Star Citizen? Was it myself that was tempting you over time, or was it something that you watched a video? Was it me that initially started you going, actually, I'm going to pull the trigger, get a game package, get in the game? What made you start?
It's mostly videos over the past kind of couple of years. I've seen videos every now and again of Star Citizen, and I've always thought that looked really cool. It looked like a fun game that I would enjoy. But I always kind of held off because I thought it was more of a you've got to pay to win, really. And that's not really my type of game. But eventually I just kind of bit the bullet and downloaded it, and now I'm addicted.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's initially that, it's pay to win, because they see these expensive ships in the game store and like, I need to get these ships to be able to play the game. When it's starting to get a little bit better where people are going, actually, I can just get a game package and get all these ships in game. All right, so compare Star Citizen to the other games you play, Black. What's the main kind of key difference? Because I know you play a lot of simulation type games with 5M. How is that you switching over to a more space sim related kind of game where Star Citizen is?
So I'm very picky with the games that I play. I'd never really get a game that I don't think I'll 100% enjoy, and I'm more about simulation games. But I don't know what it is about Star Citizen, whether it's like the open world or just the fact that it's so well built that really intrigues me to it. There's so much to do. You can do whatever you want in the game, and that kind of, like, if I want to go be a bounty hunter, I could do that. If I want to go do mining, I could do that. I can do whatever I want, and I think that's kind of what's intrigued me to it, because I don't have to do one singular thing when I'm playing a game. I can do multiple different things.
I think a lot of times a lot of new players just go, it's Star Citizen, I just have to do this, and they know there's like other game loops, but they're a bit worried. And I think a lot of times that's where the orgs and other communities kind of come together. They kind of go, okay, well, yes, there's other game loops. If you don't have the money, we can kind of like grinding game to give you those ships to go experience those different game loops. Because a lot of times in Star Citizen, if there's a game breaking bug for one game loop, a lot of people just push over to another game loop. Like, it's say salvaging is not working one of the patches, it switches back, we'll switch over to mining or something, and other in the industrial space. Or if you want to do bounty hunting not working, you can switch over to doing bunker missions and stuff like that. So do you remember when you first logged into the game? Like, what was like your first ever impressions of like, how is this game?
To be honest, my first impressions were pretty crap, to be honest, because I had really no idea what I was doing. I was streaming in Discord with a friend at the same time, so I was streaming Star Citizen, and my PC was kind of pooing itself. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to run this, and then I realised, it's because I'm streaming, and then I figured stuff out after about an hour. I finally got out of the spawn area, and then once I kind of got my ship and got up into space and off the planet, that's when it really kind of sunk in. Oh yeah, this is a really nice game.
I think it's a lot of that first. I think that's what they've done in the past, where you pretty much would just no hand holding, and you were kind of. So I went in blind complete when I first played. It was Alpha 3.14. And it was rough. I would say that. I started with an Avenger Titan starter pack, and I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know how to exit my apartment, and there was no tutorial in the game at that point. And now they've added actually tutorials, so they handhold you all the way up until getting to the space station, which is a lot handy, because I was no idea what I was doing. I got on my Avenger Titan in the hangar, didn't know how to fly, went through the hangar doors, and I remember I was just up in space, and I thought I hit the right button to go to quantum jump, and I realized I hit the emergency exit button, and I just ejected and was just falling into the down to the planet surface. So it was not a great first impression, and I initially was like, yeah, nah, I don't know if this game is for me, and I refunded it. And it wasn't until it was like a couple months later, I was like, you know what? I've seen more videos. I don't want to just like leave that as my like that as my first impression. Just go, yep, no, I'm done with it. I'll give it a go. And then ever since then, I kind of was just kept drawn back to it. It's one of those games you can go away and still come back to it and go, oh, there's been new updates. What's new and what's stuff like that. Um, from a perspective of going looking outside your ship, looking at like the planet surface and having this no loading screens, I can go from my hangar down on the ground all the way up into space. What was like your first ever kind of impression going, whoa, I can actually see a planet?
I can't remember what it's called, to be honest. It was one of the starter planets, and it was when I was trying to get up. I figured out finally how to get out a hangar and actually fly the ship. I then kind of pointed upward, and to be honest, I thought it was all cap. I thought it was going to be a loading screen, but that kind of first, like, you've actually got to work to get out of the gravitational pull and go to quantum and such. Like I loved it. It was such a cool experience, and being able to do that, to witness, like, because everything's like the scale of it as well, the size of the planets, the everything you can do on them, the space stations.
It's just endless because it's pretty much there's still planets and Star Citizen I haven't even gone across fully because there is stuff that you can do that is not like mission related, but you can even start doing stuff that I went once cave spellbunking with a friend. Just like we pretty much loaded up a ship with some tractor beams and mining hand mining equipment, and we are like, we'll go explore some caves on one of the planets. And we went to the first planet, realized I think it was Aberdeen, so it was just the weather was too hot and we had no actual suits for properly designed for it. So when we went to another planet, I think it was around Hurston or somewhere, and that was like more it's where Lawville and stuff is. And I remember we just spent an hour just exploring these caves because we've never been through these caves, and it was just the coolest thing because it's like you can do so many different game loops, and yet there's still content out there, and there's no. I think compare it's on comparison with other games because people try and compare Star Citizen with Starfield, and it's like they're very two different games because yes, they may kind of look the same, but it's more Fallout with Starfield, where it's you go from loading screen to a box to a box. You're flying in a box compared to Star Citizen, where you have that free space to go from one side of the planet to the other without a loading screen or without feeling like you're flying in a box. And yes, they sneakily, you don't actually notice there is loading screens in Star Citizen. I don't want to say to the people, there's no loading screens. There is actually loading screens. So they just hide it very well. So like every time you take a trip in an elevator, every time you take a tram, every time you take go to a quantum to a different planet, that is a secret loading screen that you don't actually realize because your
Yeah,
brain is you're able to think about something else in that moment, or you can explore your ship. You can walk around your ship while you're in that loading screen, which is another thing I've never seen any other really game do. So with your current play time and all that stuff in Star Citizen, has there any been a big moment where you've gone, crap, I've really screwed up this time, or like what was your big oh no, I know for next time I'm not going to do that again.
oh, uh, when I first kind of started, I started shooting at one of the space stations, and I got blown out of the sky because I had no idea what I was doing. And I just got blown out of the sky. Well, blown out the vacuum anyway. Um, and I was like, right, next time let's not try and do that. Let's not try and shoot at a space station.
I think for me, honestly, the worst experience, not the worst experience, the worst timing I've ever had, and I would say fail is I died on I think a service, and it respawned me back in the hospital. So I was walking through the hospital. Bear in mind, when you're in the hospital, you're in a hospital gown, and I took the hospital gown, so I had no hospital gown on me, had no armor on me, and I realized if you're running down a flight of stairs with no armor or no nothing on, you can actually trip and twist your neck and die. Because I did that accidentally. I was going through a flight of stairs. I was like, yeah, I can jump that. Jumped down the flight of stairs, and my body went flying against the wall, and it was like incapacitated. I'm like, crap. So, word of warning: don't try and attempt to try and jump down a flight of stairs butt naked in a hospital because that just doesn't work out. It's your guy's not a superhero. Don't try it.
Never knew that could happen, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is possible. So don't I wouldn't suggest unless you really want to experience it, then go for it. Moving forwards towards like the more alpha, because you joined in Alpha 4.0, and you never really experienced with a lot of the older Star Citizen veteran, I would say veteran and older player kind of community. We went through a phase of Star Citizen called 318. I know some people go cringe when they hear that word 318. So pretty much, like you probably have no idea what I'm talking about,
No,
unless you do.
no, not a clue.
So 318 was where they implemented persistent entity streaming, where it's like things would stay in the game, but the problem was that they completely broke the game. Like we could not even open the launcher without getting a computer crash or something like that, and the game wasn't playable for at least a month or so. And it was rad. Like no one could play. People that were be able to play were shard locked, so they were only able to play on a broken server, and the server was not even able to launch. And you would have there's so many issues, and a lot of people just I lost a lot of people when they used to play Star Citizen. I lost a lot of people because of that update. They just abandoned the game. They're like, "No, I'm not doing this anymore." And I'm like, "No, it's good now. Please come back." But it's one of those things that it deterred a lot of the community away. Luckily, I just was like, "I'm gonna go pick up another game." At that point, and I think I started playing the weird 3 week Minecraft phase. So I did that instead, like a different mod, like a mod pack in the meantime, and waited for Star Citizen to kind of get back on its feet. So yeah, I think it's doing a lot better, and even with 4.0, it's doing 100% better. So with 4.0, have you ever have you gone into some of the industrial game loops that like mining, salvaging, stuff like that in Pyro?
No, I've never. My ship isn't really set out for that, so I've not done that yet. I've only really done bounty hunting, kind of like shipping, so just transport. Those are kind of the only two that I've experienced so far.
Mm-hmm. So would you ever go down that kind of gameplay? Is that kind of your play style, doing that kind of industrial gameplay where you go out to an asteroid field or belt and go asteroid mining or salvaging panels, kind of that kind of gameplay loop?
I don't know. I don't think that's kind of what I'm more. I would like to be a bounty hunter. Like I
Mm.
just find that so cool. Flying about the different systems, hunting for people is kind of my thing. Definitely, I probably will experience mining and salvaging at some point just to get the
It's
experience and see if I like it.
it's an interesting game loop because you get it's more relaxing. I would say it's people think it's like, oh no, it's no action. Like it's not really designed to get you like adrenaline running, but like it's a very much I when I do that kind of industrial gameplay loop, I do it more relaxing, get a couple of like get some music on, sit out in an asteroid belt with a couple of people, and we just go asteroid mining, and it's really relaxing. But then I do like that kind of bounty hunting, that kind of aspect. Not too sure how much you know about the whole future of bounty hunting in Star Citizen.
I don't know a lot. I don't keep up with the news and stuff. I most of my news I get from you, to be honest. So you're just
I'm
my
just
news
like, this is
source.
the update.
Yeah,
This is
you,
what's
this
happening
is
next.
yeah, you're my news source.
I'm just the news source. So pretty much with bounty hunting, pushing towards eventually the gameplay loop that's going to be expanded on. And with bounty hunting, there will be not just you accept a mission for a bounty, you go to a location, you collect the bounty and go back and you just kill the player and the ship and don't think anything of it, or delete like pretty much just kill the ship and then kill the player eventually. And yes, that's one possible way you could eventually do that gameplay loop, but there is pushing it more where you actually can capture them and you get a higher reward if you bring them in technically in that kind of unconscious state. So you put them in like a pretty much a prison cell on your ship. You then take that to a space station to like a bounty hunting guild security checkpoint, and you actually give them you transport this prisoner into this bounty hunting, and they then get arrested and processed and stuff like that. And then I think from the other side of view, the criminal point of view, from a criminal player, the criminal player will pretty much will get killed, they will just go straight and get processed to prison while you do that gameplay loop of transporting them to prison. So that's kind of like how we're not transporting to the prison checkpoint. And that's how kind of like the future of bounty hunting from what I've read, watched inside Star Citizen and all the other videos that the Star Citizen has put out. So yeah, what do you think of that?
That sounds actually really good. I would much prefer to do that because just going to a location and killing the player, it's not really. It's decent, but it's not really bounty hunting, if you know what I mean.
it's just doing
Yeah,
mercenary work. It feels more like
yeah.
mercenary work than actually bounty hunting. So I think with this, a lot of ships as well. So the Anvil Hawk is a bounty hunting ship, and also the Cutlass Blue is another one. And the Cutlass Blue has actually got prison little like where the back part of the Cutlass Black. It's like a Cutlass Black, but it's been decked out like a police cruiser. So there's prison cells that you can actually hold the prisoners in. Another similar one would be the Anvil Hawk, which is more of a light fighter that you can actually hold these prisoners in. So there'll be, I'm guessing there'll be more ships coming around that gameplay loop further down the track. Going back to 4.0, what was your first experience going through that wormhole? I think you went with me in my Polaris for the first time. What was your experience going through that wormhole?
It was definitely, it was just so different because I know, like based on what you said, there is probably just a cutscene and a loading screen, but obviously it's so interactive.
Interactive? Yep,
Yeah, it's so
100%.
interactive. You've actually got to avoid the pillars. You've got to, and if you don't, then you get kicked out.
I remember
Like,
there was several times where we accidentally there was a lot of words that was expressed in that moment where we weren't navigating the Polaris correctly, and it may have hit a couple pillars and we lost a wing.
oh
We got
yeah,
chucked out back to Pyro. I still remember I think we went the first time all like with you and another guy to Pyro, and I still remember our first experience where we went to one of the planets. We didn't really research into this, so it wasn't the best thing. And we go to this planet, and I leave Black in charge of my Polaris, and I'm like, I'm gonna go down the surface and investigate. I didn't realize that planet surface had no atmosphere and also was freezing, freezing, freezing cold. So I go in and I'm like, crap, and I'm stuck. I'm trying to hubble back to the ship because I've wandered a bit too far without actually realizing I was more interested. I'm like, oh, pretty sculptures, oh, pretty buildings. I wasn't actually paying attention. So I was asking Black to then come pick me up, and I kind of forgot in that moment that Black is a new player to Star Citizen, doesn't understand how big some ships are. So the Polaris, if people don't know, is a capital class corvette. So it's designed to take out some capital ships with their torpedoes, but it's also going to be great mobile base and stuff like that. But I think he forgot how big of a ship it is because I asked him to come over and he goes, yep, cool. Flies the Polaris up. And I see this Polaris fly low level, like low flying over the air, coming towards me. I'm like, oh, yep, he's going to save me. I told him to like open up the exterior so the ramp comes out. I see this ramp come out and I'm looking up at this ramp and it feels, and then in that moment, I'm like, yep, I'm going to be saved. I was on like 3 health. I was about to die, but I'm going to be saved. Jump in the Polaris, go to the med bay on the Polaris. Yeah, that didn't work out. Pretty much that ramp, Black was like, yeah, I'm bringing it down. In that moment, all I see is this ramp coming down at 1,000 kilometers an hour, smashing my head, and I go flying across the map. I'm just obliterated. And he goes, did I squish you? And I'm like, yes, you squished me. I was like, I just wanted to get saved, and now I'm flying and I'm halfway across the map. So yeah, word of warning: if you get a new player, don't put them in a Polaris and don't tell them to try and land on someone because they just will squish them like a gnat. Because that's what it felt like. I was just getting squished like you put a boot over an ant and it's just gone kaplat.
okay, I did not realize how, because you were saying come left a bit with the ramp. So I came left a bit, and I came just a bit too left, and you're like, right, bring it down. So I brought it down, and I brought it down full pelt, and the
You
next thing I know,
definitely brought it down. That's that. We won't disagree there. You definitely brought it down in that moment. So I won't disagree with that.
so I was just following your instructions, to be honest.
Yes. I have to admit it was bad on my part, but I was laughing the whole way through. So it was just I was
It was
cracking
so
up
funny.
laughing.
It was so,
So
so funny.
overall, if you do you find like not just the standard system where it's like the lawful, but the pyro system in general, do you feel like as a new player going there, it's overwhelming and it's like it's a bit too much? Like for a new player, they should kind of like get used to Star Citizen and the standard system, understanding the game mechanics before taking that jump to pyro.
Yeah, I think, like, going with you in the Polaris, there was nobody that could really fuck with us. Oh shit! There was
No,
nobody
you're
that could
good.
really there was nobody that could really mess with us when we were flying the Polaris, to be honest. So it felt a bit better that I was able to explore the pyro system, even though our exploration was limited because you got squashed, transported back to New Babbage, I think it was.
No, I think it was right at the station, right next to Pyro Gateway. So I was just kind of
Yeah,
just chilling there. While I just see you having an argument with the other co-pilot, and it was just I just cracked up laughing. But I think a lot of players will just kind of if they've got the experienced player, and I think my first ever time in Star Citizen with that Avenger Titan, I was kind of just overwhelmed, especially even the standard system. Then when I got back into the game, it was a random that was in the chat saying, "Hey, I need a help, like someone to come pick me up." So I just flew around and picked him up on my Avenger Titan. He goes, "Oh, do you want to see the biggest ship in the game?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So it was the 890 jump at the time. And my brain was completely like, I was like, whoa, this ship is crazy big. And I was like amazed of the detail. There was a swimming pool and it is just insane. It's like a massive space yacht pretty much. Um, but yeah, it's I think a lot of new players will probably be they'll want to try Pyro. They'll have a bad experience and might get it deterred. So I think a lot of the community go try Stanton, enjoy the game, and then make that jump to Pyro because it is lawless system. There is murder hobos.
yeah.
But for yourself, from a new player, if you could like suggest one thing that you think the game should be like improved upon, like right now, if like they could improve on one thing right now that would better your experience, what would it be?
Definitely how they handle new players. So right now, based on my experience anyway, it was kind of like you loaded in for the first time. You got shown
Mm.
how to put your helmet on and stuff. You got shown how to get your ship. And then you got shown how to kind of work your ship. And that was mostly it. You just kind of got left to it. I don't know whether, like, for new players, they're able to quick tutorial maybe of actually
So
going somewhere and doing something.
there is more. So there is tutorials, but there is on the start. A lot of new players forget on the Star Citizen website. There's actually a thing where you can actually ask for a guide. A guy will like join your session, join your party, and he will be literally like helping you through, answer any questions. And that's what they've kind of. But it's then relying on the community. It's not actually built into the game in a way. So like I understand where you're coming from. There is a thing, but it's only community driven. So it's like if they could merge both of that and have still tutorials or still not say the tutorials, but just say like introductory missions, just a little bit more hand holding in those intro missions than just saying, go to this location. If you actually hand hold in that kind of have a tutorial, but hide the tutorial within that introductory mission. If that, do you think that would work?
Yeah, I think that would work. Yeah, definitely having that introductory mission.
Mm.
I
So you
think
think,
would
you
yeah.
go,
I think because to me, like I played Star Citizen and it was a bit overwhelming,
mm.
like the whole thing. And it wasn't until I think you messaged me going, "Hey, have you got Star Citizen?" Because you must have saw me playing it or something.
I think I saw you on Discord, and then I kind of just was like, "Oh my god, he's playing Star Citizen," and it's for me as a player that's been playing since like 2019, 2020 ish. I get very excited when I see one of my close friends going, "Oh, cool, he's actually playing Star Citizen. He's playing the game I'm like obsessed about."
Yeah.
So
But if you hadn't messaged me and said, "Do you play Star Citizen?" I play it too. Let's play. I don't know whether I would have actually got into it and started playing it again because it was so overwhelming
mm.
that because it is such a big game. There's so much to do.
Oh
There's
yeah, it's a huge game.
there's so much to do. There's certain ways of doing things. Like yeah. So for me, first impressions are such a big thing
Mm.
with games. Like if I don't like a game within the first like 10 minutes, then or something happens within the first 10 minutes, I kind of go off it a bit.
You
Um,
need that drawing in factor. You need that factor that goes that will draw you in. It's like those like TV commercials or like shows that you watch that first little bit. You're like, you need to have like you have my attention for this amount of seconds before I will completely like if you don't draw my attention in it, I will not think about it. And I think that's a lot of times people get kind of drawn away with Star Citizen because they see all these trailers, they see all these commercials, and yes, they're good, but a lot of times they're doing a lot better. They're doing a lot more gameplay in these trailers than just cinematic shots because cinematic shots are good, but a lot of people think that's the gameplay, and it is very close. But on the other side of that, like you draw these people in, they go in, there you go in, and they get a bit overwhelmed and they're like, what the hell? What am I doing? So do you think yourself, do you think since you started playing with me and started getting more introduced to Star Citizen, do you think you'll be staying around up until when the game fully releases?
yeah, I think so. I still have one wee puny ship, my little C1 Spirit that I love to bits.
It's better than your cutter. There was a lot of arguments over
Oh
that little
yeah,
cutter. You
yeah.
hated.
hated that thing. But yeah, my little
Like,
C1 Spirit, I love it. But yeah, it's definitely a game that I'd like to stick around and see where it goes in the future.
we'll go a little bit later in the show, kind of talking about what the future Star Citizen, because I know you're not heavily into that kind of understanding what's happening in the future and kind of like what the future for Star Citizen and stuff like that is. So I understand that completely. So we'll go a little bit further on. We'll go talk about Alpha 4.1 and the kind of the change with Alpha 4.1, because it's one of those, we've had the big drop of Alpha 4.0, Pyro system, stuff like that. It's now the kind of the first starting point of Alpha 4.1, where the game is, what it's actually showing to us. So I'll give you kind of like a little bit of like a rundown of a brief. So this other stuff we've had, I know you're not pretty much tracking a lot of the stuff, but there's like a new interactive missions, and they've pretty much pushed the point of this is the year of stability and stuff like that. So we're trying more a stable game than just giving, yeah, this is this ship, this is this ship, and we're gonna eventually add this and eventually add this. No, we're actually gonna start working on the game and make sure it's stable enough to people to play and draw people in eventually up to that 1.0 release. So I think a lot of this 4.1 update is very much pushed on the point of mining and those kind
Yeah,
of interactive missions. So the interactive mission at the moment is pretty much, the rundown of it is you go to a location to align a satellite dish. The satellite dish then talks to a space station, which has got a massive laser on it. This massive laser hits the laser ground on the like hits this area on the ground. That then opens up a temporary cave that you can go in, kill the local fauna, which is some dune cave worms, the little baby ones, and then you pretty much extract or you wipe out the area, clear it out, and go back out before the cavern closes on you. So pretty much they're trying to involve not just one gameplay loop. So they're involving people with the mining, they're people with, there's space combat in the sky to get the space station shooting the laser. There's people doing ground missions to do. It's a lot of like all working together, and that's, I think a lot of people want that because they don't want just for one gameplay loop. Oh yeah, this new interactive mission will just be for this one gameplay loop. If they involve more gameplay loops, it will draw the industrial players. It will draw a lot of the players kind of all together.
yeah,
And I know as well. So they've just added. They've people got really excited when they said they're adding the Banu Merchantman, which is a ship that was teased a long time ago. Pretty much like, think of it like a flying bazaar. So it's like a trading hub central that is a flying ship. We don't know when it's ever going to get released, but they added a Banu Merchantman, which is pretty much the physical actual species of Banu, and it's a guy who's a merchant and he's also a man. So they really teased the point of it's a Banu merchantman, but then actually explain it wasn't the ship, it was the actual player. So this, it will be, is the first interaction we can actually have with an alien. And a lot of the times, yes, he's not actually, you can not physically go up to him and ask permissions. He's by a screen, but you pretty much go to his little spot, his hangars, and it's pretty much, think of it more like EVE Online, how you can go off, you can do these, if you do these missions and give me these items, like kind of like the typical MMO, you give me these items, I give you this cool loot, or I give you this cool sword, or I give you this cool gun, or this ship skin, and kind of like stuff like that. So that's what, it's interesting the way they're pushing missions and that kind of way, actually physicalize this is what you'll get for that mission than just a Moby glass where it's like your little screen that you bring up and do the missions. I think a lot of time as well, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but the big change where I felt with 4.0, yes, there's missions, yes, there is Dune Worms, there is new Banu Merchantmen and stuff like that. I think for myself was the era of, I'm calling it the era of Fashion Citizen. Pretty much now, when you die, before you would get your respawn back with not your gear on. You would have to go back to location to go get your gear, go get your stuff back on. It would be really tedious, especially when you're in Pyro. Now, if I'm mining an asteroid belt in Pyro, I die and I've got a cool kit on. Well, I've spent so much time and effort on this kit and I've just lost it. And
yeah,
a lot of people get like, oh, they get fed up. So now it's pretty much once you die, it's kind of like a recovery. So you pretty much will respawn back with the armor that you're wearing. Some of the stuff that you have in your, I think, backpacks or within your actual things might get lost, but I think the overall what actual armor you're wearing stays with the character. Saying a lot of people is calling it Fashion Citizen because you can start decking out these cool loadouts and not having that stress of, oh, this is gonna die, so I can just wear this consistently. So how do you feel about that?
I quite like that because I love the armor that I've got,
Hmm.
to be honest. And I haven't played for a week or so, so I'm a bit scared that I'm dead in the server and I've lost it. because I just ship spawned. So
It should be okay. Like when I last like before I hadn't played 4.1 until it like a couple weeks ago, and the last time I played 4.0 was I bedlogged and I was really stressing because when you bedlog in a ship, you go, oh crap, when the new update drops, sometimes it breaks your game. You have to do a character reset. So I luckily you just pick your new location. I just pulled the trigger and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try Pyro. I spawned in at Ruin Station, and also for the audience, if you ever been to Ruin Station or if you haven't been, 100% check. Like even if you've been there, not even actually explored it, just go back there. Their little market section where you can get noodles, you can get all this like street food. The coolest stuff I've ever seen. I literally sat at a desk in the station and ate my pot noodle, and it was the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. And I pretty much have now been sitting at Ruin Station and doing my mining because it's perfect for ship miners. But pretty much we can go out to an asteroid belt that's right next to the station, mine, go back to the station, refine at the station, and sell at the station all in one. So you don't actually have to travel anywhere. You can go from cargo to the cargo freight elevator and not have that worry. So I think it's perfect for miners. If you want to go pyro mining, Ruin Station is the go-to. I think that's one that probably if we play again, Black will probably go to Ruin Station and kind of show you how mining works and kind of show you Ruin Station and kind of the contested outposts within Ruin Station.
yeah,
On the word of outposts, how do you feel about how Star Citizen's gone that kind of shift away? So the standard system, you've probably seen how it's very much typical space, like what's it called, like space usual ship kind of looking bases where it looks like they've just dragged and dropped. With these outposts and derelict sediments and pyro and stuff like that, where it actually looks more like the Star Wars esque, like Tatooine domed kind of shaped outpost. How do you feel about that than the standard
I
ones?
I think it's a lot cooler. It shows that they've put a lot of effort into the pyro system, individually designing these space stations. And I think the design of the space stations really matches the design of pyro as a whole
Mm-hmm.
because it's a very rustic system. There's asteroids everywhere, especially at the gateway. You've got that kind of orange fog type thing.
It's beautiful. Like I don't know if you've explored the other gateway. So they've got currently the Magnus and I think one more gateway. You can pretty much go there. It's not operating like yet, but you can pretty much see this kind of the cool what you're talking about, the gas clouds, and you kind of see. I sometimes just sit in my ship and just observe, just looking at these gas clouds because it just looks like you could just sit there and watch it all day.
Yeah,
I think yeah, it's changed a lot. Like when I first played Star Citizen, it was very much all the settlements looked the exact same, like carbon copy. We didn't think anything of it. It was just another word for another place. We didn't think anything of it. Now with like these, I still haven't explored all the ones in Pyro, but all of them look. Let's say for one of them, for example, I saw it's got that kind of dug in hangar bit where it looks like very much Star Wars in like how they land inside the ground. It's dug into the ground kind of hangar looking with the fuel pipes and stuff like that. And then
yeah,
it's got like the settlements and stuff like, and it's all every and not one station looks the exact same. Everything looks a little bit different. Yes, there might be the same kind of looking building, but they've arranged it in a way that it doesn't look like you're walking to the same spot every single time, which I think they've done perfectly with Pyro.
yeah. I think they have done really well with pyro and its
Mm.
designs and how it actually comes across to because it is a lawless system and
Mm.
it looks the part. So
I
yeah,
think yeah. I think 100% with the you want that kind of lawless vibe. You want that kind of it's not all nice and
it's like
pretty. You want that
rustic.
kind of rustic. You want that rustic. You want that oh this is dangerous. You want that kind of ominous feel of still a dangerous area. Yes, you can. Yes, you keep your gear, but you still want that fear factor of anyone that you see is almost a threat. I see anyone in Pyro if they're flying away from me, that's fine. But if they're flying towards me, if they're in the close vicinity, I'm like, yeah, they want to kill me. So I was just like, I'm very I'm like looking, I'm like, yep, no, I'm not, I don't want. If I'm in a smaller ship, I'm very much got quantum jump away. If I'm a Polaris or other ship and I'm fully crewed with you and a couple other people, we're sorted because we can get turrets and stuff like that. Um, Now with those missions, I know you probably haven't attempted the new orbital laser kind of assault missions in 4.1. with yourself, would you be picking more the space combat, like the atmosphere combat with your ship with dogfighting, or would you be more boots on the ground FPS? I'm going to go to this cavern and clear it out.
I'm not too sure actually. My ship, it is decent. The little Sea-1 Spirit it's
Hmm.
got decent weapons, but it's not the most maneuverable ship in the world.
Mm.
So probably right now, I would be more boots on the ground. What about you?
I honestly, I myself, I have the Polaris and I have the F7 Hornet, so I do love dogfighting. It's one of my favorite things. So I feel like I'll be drawn against both because I love industrial gameplay. I run the Prospector, or so I'm used to kind of that mining, other kind of stuff. But I do like the dogfighting. So if I did get a choice, I probably would go dogfighting, just providing the air support. It blows my mind how you can kind of just that kind of do that air support while you've got someone on the ground and be consistent gameplay within that. Going with eventually updates just past 4.1 before 1.0, is there any ships that you want to kind of get see released? Or I know you're not fully aware of what kind of ships are upcoming in Star Citizen, but is for your going blind in it, what kind of ships do you want to see as a brand new player?
I kind of want to see a couple more capital ships, to be honest.
Another capital.
I
So
I know we've got the
yes,
Polaris, and I love it to bits. I love when we go about in it. It's great, but I'd like to see some different ones. But also ones that are more manageable because the Polaris is very hard to manage with like limited crew.
it's hard to run on a skeleton crew pretty much.
Yeah,
It's difficult because there is, you don't know, probably not aware of the RSI Perseus, which is like a bit, it's a not a smaller version of the Polaris, but think of it more of a gunboat than a Polaris, which is a multi-capable ship. So the RSI Perseus is coming, hopefully Invictus, which is the massive game, like expo in game, where you see all the ships coming out and stuff. So that's planned for later in the year. So that's more combat driven. There is talks of getting the Pioneer. So the Pioneer will be the consolidated Outland Pioneer, which is pretty much a big base building capital ship. So there is plans. There is, the problem is with these capital ships, there's a lot of resources that have to get put into them. A lot of people wanting a little bit more on the medical and the dropship kind of gameplay because there is only a limited amount of medical ships in the game at the moment. So they're like, there's the
yeah,
Anvil R Pisces, which is pretty much your baby kind of medical. You've got the Cutlass Red, and then you've got your capital ships, which got the med bays. You haven't actually got that kind of in between where it's not like the Cutlass Red is a bad ship, but it's been in the game for quite a while. People want something new. So there is the talks of the RSI Apollo Medvac, which is pretty much, think of it like the RSI kind of looking, but in that kind of medium size. There's two variants. There's the Polo Triage and then the Polo Medvac. The Medvac is more medical evacuations in the name, and then the Triage, think of it more like the ambulance kind of there will transport you before you get to the space station or before you get to a capital ship. There'll be that main kind of point. There is a lots of med beds in this Apollo flightline and stuff like that. So it would be for you. Is there like a certain, not just capital ships? Is there a certain game kind of gameplay kind of type ship where it would be like a drop ship or a medical or a mining or a salvage? Is there any kind of
uh,
one that you go, I want this?
probably a medical ship because you know
Hmm.
what I'm like with a medical.
For the audience listening, he's very experienced in the medical area. He's very much like, he has more knowledge on medical stuff than me. So I think for you, it'll be like that kind of medical gameplay and actually
Yeah,
administering those types of drugs in that kind of medical setting and stuff like that. And actually be a medic, a space medic almost in a
yeah,
Star Citizenship.
I think that would be really good. So yeah, maybe a couple more medical ships would be good because there isn't very many. Uh,
There isn't, it's a limited amount and we want more. But the problem is, it's like, there is medical evac missions, but a lot of times people just think medical ships and they go, "Oh, I may as well just hit respawn." They use like the nurse, so they call it pretty much. It's the medical version of the Ursa, which is a ground rover, which a lot of people use, which is great. But it's like, yep, you have a ground vehicle as a medical. You have the Terrapin, who's now got a medical variant, which is like your turtle. Pretty much, it's a great ship because you can run it into ships. It's a little turtle. It's really hard to blow it up. So there is less. There's really like smaller medical ships, but there's no that gap between nothing bigger than the Cuddy Red, and there's nothing smaller than a capital class ship like a Polaris. So you want that kind of middle ground in between. I think
Yeah.
that's where the RSI Apollo will be shining strong, and I'll probably will pick it up because knowing me, I like medical ships. So overall, so pretty much if Alpha 4.1 was about expanding the map and testing the systems, 4.1 it looks like it's gearing up to make the universe feel alive and dangerous. Whether you're a merc, medic, miner, things are about to get a whole lot more personal. Now we're done a push towards the out, it's not even alpha, it will be 1.0, the full game release. So what does launch actually mean for Star Citizen, and what actually happens when this beast finally steps out of the stages of alpha and early access, which has been in for almost 13 years? First of all, so pretty much for you, Black, you probably don't know a lot. So pretty much the game will go from being an early access game to be fully released, to be able to go commercial, go, yep, this game is fully out, you can buy it. It'll be at that point of stability and full server meshing, persistence. It'll be a full MMO at that point. So how do you feel about that?
I'm quite excited for it because if this is what we're seeing in kind of early access and alpha stages, then what's that full game going to be like? Is there going to be more star systems? Is there going to be the amount of ships, the kind of gameplay that you can get?
It
I
is.
think will just be in it on a different level.
So a bit of a rundown for you and for the new listeners of Star Citizen as well. Pretty much the alpha out not I keep saying alpha. I'm so used to saying alpha because I've been in this early access so long. This 1.0 release will have pretty much a lot of stuff that people won't think Star Citizen would actually ever get to. So there'll be player owned and built outposts, so base building will be added. That won't just be locked just to ground. So you would have your base, your build, you would have your farms, you would have your mining, you would have everything like that. Pretty much have your own little outpost, own little town. It won't just stop there because the end goal for that will be actually space stations that will be player built and owned. So you'll own your little space station up in space that you can then actually connect to other space stations within, let's say, an organization and stuff like that. So it's very much driven on, you want that little plot of land. That plot of land is yours, and you can then set up like your defenses and stuff like that and kind of push it to where you want it to be. You could be it as a cargo outpost. You could be it as more of a defense. This is your little area. This is my plot of land. No one's gonna come take it. And with that,
Yeah.
so with these building elements, it would have this crafting element into Star Citizen. So before, crafting is never really a thing. You just move cargo from one to another and don't think anything of it. So with cargo, with this now with crafting, you actually have to go get these resources to build these outposts. So it'll be a lot more, you'll be using these cargo players to transport this, to be extracting these, first of all, these resources and stuff like that, and building these outposts. So a lot of times people think, oh yeah, it will just be, hey presto, buildings built. And it's like, yes, but no, like you still have to go through that. And a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, it's going to be the same with ships. Yes and no. So ships will actually have blueprints where you can actually build your own ship. So you won't have to actually go out and go buy these ships. You can actually build them in a way that there will be like, pretty much you get the blueprint through working through different career levels. As let's say I start as a courier delivery driver for in a little baby ship, and I want to eventually get a fighter jet like the F7 Hornet. So pretty much I would work through getting a blueprint, getting the resources, building the ship, and then I would actually have the ship built and I can actually use it. But the downside, it's not a pledge, it's not locked to your account, but it's still one of those ships that you've built yourself, and you can fly around in it. And it eventually will come up to how the consolidated Outland Pioneer will play into this. So that's a big base building ship. That's where you can build your big outposts and stuff like that. So I think a lot of times people think Star Citizen, when it goes to full release, yes, there'll be all this content, but there'll be no direction with this content. That's why they're pushing out this more of a campaign looking, where you would actually follow this kind of skill tree in a way where you would have to get, if you want to get to a certain bounty hunting thing with a certain, let's say it's multiple bounties in one big thing, or cargo hauling where it's you get into go into interact with the different pirates and stuff. It's a lot more on this kind of skill tree, and this kind of, that's how missions and career loops and kind of gameplay loops will kind of branch off to. So a lot of times people think, yep, okay. For example, they'll just go, yep, engineering. We'll just be an engineer. There is so many different areas within that will be actually split off now. So they've actually teased it with the most recent CitizenCon last year, which is like a, think of it like a Star Citizen convention in real life, where they tease all the new things that are happening. So they went through and they explained everything in detail, where they explained how you can be a repair technician, you can be a medical technician, you can be pretty much like the fine tuning of, you can be a little handyman if you want on a little outpost, and that'll be your job, or you can be a farmer. And it's like you're very much, you can dive into those areas. You'll be player driven economy, so very much like EVE Online, how a player will, how a player interacts with the economy is how another player will be interacting as well. So let's say a person will go out and buy all the stock, that will then have an effect on the economy. Or if they sell a bunch of this resources and it overflows in the economy, it will have an effect on other players that are trying to buy it. And they've kind of added at the moment just kind of that introductory base zero kind of levels into that, into the current alpha builds. But it's that this is like the kind of starting scaffolding foundations towards that. And then with that as well, so pretty much you can kind of use your org within that. So orgs would have their integration in that. So orgs would have their outposts, their space stations, and stuff like that. And a lot of times these, you actually have physicalized NPCs where you can go to talk to, get these missions, then talking on a mobile. So I think a lot as well, people think, oh, this is I think a lot of times where they have this full game, people will be able to go in, fully enjoy it, and not get overwhelmed, because there is that kind of structure of that campaign where they can follow this along without getting kind of too distracted at that point. And with that stuff about what new systems, there is currently Nynx, Magnus, and Oso, where there's 3 new star systems where they've actually teased the planets already. And there's one planet that looks a spitting image of Australia. It is like sunny beaches, tropical landscape. It's great. So I know it's a lot of information to kind of take in, Black, but how do you feel about that whole kind of spiel about 1.0?
Well, I think it would be quite good, actually. Being able to build your own kind of outposts, I think is probably something that I'm really interested in. Maybe not so much the shipbuilding, but the actual building of the outposts, having to get your materials, having to find the location, build your outpost. That's something that really interests me, and I'm looking forward to.
I think, would you yourself, do you think you'd be joining an org and having like maintaining a outpost over there, or do you think you want to go out, go to a planet that you really like, find a little plotted area that you want to go, yep, I want to settle down here and set up your little home, be pretty much like a hermit? And is that what you want to do, or you want to do more the org kind of way?
No, probably I'll be a little helmet, maintain
I
my
mean,
own place.
it's if you want to do that, I just love it because I can live out the kind of Star Citizen, not Star Wars kind of fantasies and stuff like that. So I just was like, I want to just build out like this cool outpost, pretty much live out my Star Wars stuff that I want to play in Star Wars, but do it in Star Citizen, and that's what my goal is. So do you like this kind of push towards more of a campaign driven? Because yes, there is Squadron 42, which is their single player campaign coming out next year, which we can get into another podcast. Pretty much, do you like this push towards of more of a campaign, more of a career gameplay loops and reputation and different guilds within the games? There'll be different ways that you can join a guild, and they will offer you exclusive missions that they won't offer to another guild. And think of it like a bounty hunting guild or a miners guild or stuff like that.
Yeah, I do quite like that because, like I said previously, I'm looking at going into bounty hunting more. So having that bounty hunters guild, like and I'm going to refer to the Mandalorian, really interests me. Having that bounty hunter guild where you've got exclusive bounty hunter missions, you've got that guild behind you.
I think, yeah, I think a lot of times people be drawn towards, they can still mix in that kind of area that they can go towards that neutral, and they can kind of be that middle ground that they do a little bit of the criminal stuff. They do, or that I would say, I'm gonna say spice running in the for the Star Wars fans. You can do that kind of criminal gameplay, but then you can kind of dabble in the legal. But there's some players that can go, such as yourself, or you can be very much on the law abiding. I will be doing the bounty hunting guild, and I'll be very, very much like on the goody two shoe side. But then I know there is other guilds that would be probably me offering more, yeah, do this bounty contract, and just handle it any means necessary. So I think a lot of times people can kind of choose their own adventure, choose their story, and use and not be kind of locked and go, oh yeah, you have to do this, you have to go. I think a lot of other games, not just MMOs, but just a lot of other games in general, go, you need to go to this mission to go to this mission to go to this mission. We'll go from cutscene to cutscene to cutscene. And yes, it's good because you get to, it's some people like that. I don't like that. I don't like being held back. I just want to go do my own thing and not being held back. It's just the way I like
Yeah,
to play games. I think yeah,
nice.
it's interesting to see how the community will react. How because I know a lot of players will get used to the same kind of gameplay loop, and they don't. Some of them might not like the change. Some of them do like the change. But what kind of where would you see yourself? Let's say when the Star Citizen 1.0 fully releases. Where do you want to see yourself? Where do you want to go? Okay, first time loading in. I've got this plan. What's your kind of go ahead? What's your plan?
I don't really have one yet, to be honest. I'm just kind of going with the flow at the moment, doing a
Mm.
bit of this, doing a bit of that, experiencing the game because I haven't experienced like some of the like gameplays, game loops. So at the minute, I'm kind of just exploring and getting used to the game rather than making a plan for 1.0.
Mm. I think the best thing for like new players is just kind of experience new gameplay loops. And for the audience, if you're a brand new player, you want to experience the verse, you want to experience the global chat is a hit and miss sometimes, but you can type in chat saying, hey, I want to explore the salvaging gameplay loop or stuff like that, or even on the chat forums with Spectrum and other stuff. You can go to these chat forums, you can ask people and go, hey, I really want to try out mining. I don't have the money in game. I only have an Aurora package. Can someone help me out? And usually there's players who'll go, yep, I'll send you my game username, meet you up in the verse, and we can go give you that kind of taste of mining. And I think as well, like the next time we'll probably hop in on a session, I'll kind of show you the mining gameplay loop and kind of see if that interests you, or we can go kind of different route. There's so many different mining, especially there's a massive rework with 4.0 with the mining. Before you would only have rock mining, and which is pretty much ground. Think of it like ground mining, so going across the ground to go find gems to go mine, but you can only mine those gems with a certain ground vehicle. And you would have ship mining where you would have two ships where you can pretty much mine asteroids on the either the ground or in space, and that was pretty much it. And it was kind of like those are the two things for mining, and that's when I first started mining. I was like the only two. So now with this massive rework, they've really pushed this of not just doing the two. You can actually do hand mining now. So hand mining has its own set of different crystals that you can actually physically handle. Once you've mined them, you can pick these crystals up and they look beautiful. They're like, there's a blue one that literally looks like I could stare at it for ages. And you can find all these crystals pretty much, or these gems almost anywhere in these caves or anywhere around the verse. And
Yeah,
then you kind of do that one. If you can start with hand mining, go to rock mining or go to Atlas Geo, which is think of it like the mech suit that you can use there's a mech suit for the cargo, but there's now the mech suit for pretty much hand mining, and you can kind of use that almost as a rock miner. And then the next big stage, if you want to go from ground mining to pretty much space mining, you've got that opportunity with the new Drake Golem, which is a new ship that added with 4.0, and you can kind of test out. And it's a lot of they've given a game package now where I wish it was out when I first played. We can actually give it a taste of mining from a brand new player, which is like I think it's only like 70 USD at the moment for the mining starter pack, and it gets that person to actually experience mining for the first time. They can watch a couple of videos on YouTube and stuff like that to get that understanding. And I think as well, what my suggestion for you will get you kind of like see what kind of gameplay loop you want to try, because a lot of times people will be very locked to going, yep, I just do, let's say, bounty hunting, and I'm just going to do that. And they forget there is other gameplay loops. And when bounty hunting doesn't work, they get really mad because the game's not working. Nothing works in the game. When in reality, I try and take it as a positive. If something doesn't work in a game, I go try a completely different game loop. I would never attempt to try. So that was me with salvaging. I never was like, no, I don't like salvaging. Gameplay loop didn't work. I'll go, all right, I'll try salvaging. Okay, try salvaging, and I love it. So it's like kind of try and get that kind of like, yep, push you towards. We'll try a new gameplay loop. See if you like. If you don't like it, cool. We'll try something else. And it's great with Star Citizen like that. So how do you feel about that?
yeah, I'm looking forward to that actually. Being able to explore the different game loops, I
Mm,
think it'll make me better as a player because I'll have a wider range of knowledge of the different game loops.
mm.
Being able to explore each one, it'll kind of give me a bit of direction because right now I'm just a bit like if I loaded into Star Citizen right now, I wouldn't know what I would just be
And
flying
that's
about doing random stuff.
I think a lot of times we need that kind of the community kind of come together because there's so many orgs out there. Like I'm a part of an org. My first podcast was one of the guys that used to run my org, and he's American based, and he pretty much is a great guy. He pretty much knows Star Citizen back to front, and they're always in voice channels and stuff like that. So there is opportunities for people to join orgs to kind of give that kind of direction. If they want to try and play, but they don't really know anyone to play with, those orgs are a great thing. And then one step further with that, they've got bar citizens. So, like, are you aware with bar citizen what that is?
No.
So Bar Citizen got introduced pretty much. You go to a bar in real life, and there's other Star Citizen players that kind of meet up together, and it's not Star Citizen official devs and stuff like that, but pretty much they will go, yep, you can do the all clear to do a Bar Citizen here, and pretty much think of it, you meet up at as a pub, and you talk about Star Citizen with other people like that. I went to my first one in my city, and I thought it was only to be me and two other guys, and there was over 60 people there, and I didn't realize there was 60 people in my area that play Star Citizen, and it's not just me, because I think, oh, a lot of time it's European or it's American based, this game, and you kind of, it's great for people that as well don't like that kind of social, they're not used to that kind of social interaction, and it's a bunch of people that love Star Citizen. We can kind of chat about Star Citizen, not get that kind of pressure of people going, oh, it's a scam, oh, it's all this, and it's like, no, people actually like the game. And I was a guy there at Bar Citizen that he never played the game before, but just came along just because he wanted to know more about it. And it's kind of that someone in that same day gave him a game package. He goes, "I'll send you one. You can try out the game, see if you like it. Just full send it." So, do you think you would ever go to a Bar Citizen?
Well, I'm socially awkward, so maybe not.
I mean, there is so many there was so many like socially awkward people. I felt like I was doing a job interview because I was just like, I rocked up with my name on a little name tag. I'm like, hi, I spend way too much money on space JPEGs. How are you? It gives me too. So it was great. So all right. So wrapping up, whether you're a vet hauling out of Lawville or a fresh face catching their first ride out of Seraphim Station, Star Citizen 1.0 isn't the finish line. However, it's the starting block of a real persistent universe. And with players alike like Dr. Black just now joining the crew, this verse is only getting bigger. So that's going to do it for this transmission of the RetroVerse podcast. Huge thank you to my guest, Dr. Black, for jumping in the deep end of the verse and bringing that fresh perspective. We've got lifers and rookies out there here sharing the same stars, and that's what makes Star Citizen special. From Alpha 4.0's chaos to Alpha 4.1's incoming firing line and the promised land of 1.0 and beyond, we're just scratching the surface of what's out there. But don't worry, we're not going anywhere. More episodes are already queued up with covering everything from mining and ship loadouts to FPS tactics and the weirdest bugs we've even survived. So if you're flying solo, grouped up, or still stuck in an elevator, you've got a home right here in the Retroverse. Until next time, stay sharp, fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.